All right.
We're good to go.
The virtual meeting of Daytona Beach Shores, August 25th, 2020 is now called to order. Sherry, can you take the roll, please?
Mayor Miller,
Yes, here.
Vice Mayor Vernon,
Yes, here.
Councilmember Frislow,
Here.
Councilmember Lindell,
Here.
Councilmember Politis.
Yes. Here.
Okay, and before we get started, I want to explain a little bit about why we're having this virtual meeting this evening. We did have to cancel our August 9th meeting due to some noticing that wasn't quite in order. So we scheduled it for the 25th. In the meantime, the governor had a recommendation for group meetings of 10 or less. So with our city council meeting, we normally have much more than 10 with staff alone. Our code enforcement and our planning and zoning meetings, we don't have 10. So we made the decision to make this virtual. I apologize. I know how hard it is for everyone, especially me facilitating, but we'll get through this. For our September 9th meeting, I'm hopeful. I think we will have that in person with social distancing. We're concerned about the safety and health of our residents. So that's why we made this decision tonight. So on the 9th, we will make sure that we have the social distancing and everything that residents can feel secure coming to the meeting. So I just wanted to explain that. One thing I'd like to say to the council people, it's very hard for Sherry and I to hear you. So when we go through the meeting and you're making a motion, so Lindauer, motion, second, just make sure you say your name before it, please, so we know who's speaking. Okay. Thank you very much. So with that being said, Reverend Melissa, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Sure. Will you pray with me? Creator of worlds and planets, of people and creation, we pause in the busyness of our lives to recognize and reflect upon the power you have entrusted to us. May we have the wisdom to use that power and our influence to build up the whole human family, and especially the citizens and residents and guests of this great city. May the city of Daytona Beach Shores be recognized by those within and without as a city that values neighborhoods and neighborly people, that cherishes education and wisdom, that promotes justice and compassion, that encourages business and rewards hard work, that supports the arts and rewards our artists, that celebrates together as a wonderfully diverse family, and that models politics that add value to the lives of all. Bless us during this time together and keep us on track to live lives that are worthy of the sacred trust we have been given. Amen.
Amen.
Thank
Amen.
you, Reverend Melissa. Can you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible.
Thank you.
liberty and justice for all.
We're going to start out this evening before I do the Employee Service Awards with, as you all know, our former mayor and our dear, dear friend Don Large passed away in last July. And I had this proclamation ready for him, but during the cancellation of the meeting, so I do want to read it this evening, please. Whereas Don Large was a highly esteemed citizen of Daytona Beach Shores who passed away on July 21st, 2020. And whereas Don moved to Daytona Beach Shores in 1971, where he owned and operated the Mirando Beach Cottages. And whereas he served our community as the chair of the South Peninsula Zoning Commission, as director of the Volusia County of Governments, as the director of the Volusia County Hotel Motel Association, and whereas he served the city of Daytona Beach Shores as planning and zoning board chair, council member, vice member, mayor, and mayor from 1977 to 2010. And whereas since retiring from the city council, Don shared his knowledge of our city and civic commitment to serve on many volunteer committees, such as the 50th Anniversary Committee, new community center community, to name a few. And whereas Don expressed concern that the history of our city must be preserved, he worked diligently to raise funds and interest in this endeavor. And whereas the City Museum was established entirely through his dedicated efforts, personally interviewed and videotaped discussions with some of the founding members of our city and collected archive material to place in the museum. And whereas the City Museum has now been established in the Shores Community Center for all to enjoy, the museum has been named the Don Large City Museum in his honor. Whereas Don leaves our community a legacy of good work, dedicated service, and wisdom. Therefore, I, Nancy Miller, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Daytona Beach Shores, express our sympathy to the Large family, and we hereby declare Don's birthday of August 29th to be declared Don Large Day. So going forward, every year, starting April 19th, 2021, we will always have a Don Large Day. The city flag at City Hall will be flown at half-mast in his honor each of those days. We celebrate the rich, full life of Don Large. His many contributions to this life and the welfare of our community will always be revered and cherished. We will miss you daily, our friend Don Large. Thank you. Okay, next we're going to go over the Employee Service Awards. And I wish we could have done this in person so I could personally thank each one of these employees for their service to our city. But we cannot do that, and I want to make sure that I recognize them. So first of all, we have Officer Zachary Rooney with 5 years. Steve Wolf, 5 years. Kim Smith, 15 years. Sergeant Francis T.J. Moore, 20 years. Lieutenant Michael Schoenbrod, 20 years. And also congratulations, Lieutenant, on your promotion. And Brian Edwards, 35 years. I don't know if we can clap on the screen, but let's clap for all of these wonderful employees of Daytona Beach Shores. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, next we're going to go on to the approval of the minutes. So I'm going to ask for a motion to accept both the minutes from the council meeting on July 14th, 2020, as well as the budget workshop minutes on August 7th, 2020.
Brian,
Do I hear a
Brian,
motion?
move to
Please
approve.
remember to say your name.
Brian, move to approve.
Does anyone want to make a motion to accept?
I
those
said,
minutes?
Brian, move to approve.
Lindauer.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I'm sorry. I didn't-
Who was the second? Was that Councilman Tresolone?
I think
No.
Lindauer.
Linda.
And
that's
down.
right.
Thank you. Okay, is there any discussion on these minutes? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bryan,
Yes.
Councilmember Frizzalone,
Yes.
Councilmember Lindauer,
Yes.
Councilmember Titus.
Yes.
Thank you. Next on the consent agenda, do we have approval? There is 8 items on there this evening. Do we have a motion to approve the consent items?
Lindauer, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Councilman.
Brian, second.
Vice Mayor for second. Thank you. Any discussion? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll on those, please?
Councilmember Lindauer,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bryan,
Yes.
Councilmember Frizzalone,
Yes.
Councilmember Titus,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, next we will have the reports of the city attorney, and we have Attorney Carey here with us this evening that will read our city attorney's report, please. And Attorney Carey, you're on mute whenever you're ready. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Can everyone hear Attorney Carey?
No.
Just go a little bit closer to the mic up here at the top.
Okay, for my city attorney report, I'd like to report that we worked on a number of items since the last meeting, including access easement and ordinance review for the Rubin condominium, the revised standard form of agreement for public works projects. We revised that form for the public works. Public safety replacement bid, reviewed the bid documents. Worked on the Oceans 25 LLC development project with city staff. We drafted an agreement to protect the city's interests for the South Daytona Chamber of Commerce office located within the city. Drafted the proposed ordinance for conduct of the mayor and city council members when communicating with third parties on the subject of interest to the city when communicating isn't taking place at a notice council meeting. And we'd like to provide a reminder of sunshine law issues that city council members are reminded of the procedure. If information is desired to be sent to other city council members, it needs to happen before the next meeting is to inform either the city manager or the city attorney. And one of us will handle it in a manner that will ensure that we're complying with the state's sunshine laws that apply to all of the council members.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Carey. I do want to go over the one part about the sunshine law. I want to let you know, I had 3 residents on 3 separate occasions that have mentioned to me that they saw 2 city council members in lengthy discussions on a couple of occasions. For all we know, they were talking about the incoming storm or the weather, anything like that. But just be aware, we've all gone through ethics training. And when residents see that, it's their perception that something is going on besides the weather. I want to make sure that this council is above that, that doesn't happen. It is illegal, but it's also a disservice to the rest of the council people when they are not in on some of the conversations that might be taking place. Not accusing anyone of anything, but I just want to make sure you know that residents are seeing that and not questioning it. So thank you again, Attorney. Next, City Manager Booker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can everyone hear me?
Barely.
Barely. Okay, I'll try to talk a little louder now. In regard to the Port Orange South Daytona Chamber of Commerce, the agreement between the Chamber and the city has been executed by me and Mayor Miller. The agreement will run concurrently with their lease for a period of 1 year, which hopefully will coincide with our fiscal year. Regard to Peck Park, Volusia County has slated work to begin on their park/parking lot at 3167 South Atlantic Avenue within the next 6 months. Just to refresh everyone's memory, Peck Park will be located directly across the street from Red Lobster. Don and Peggy Large, I know everyone in the Shores joins me in extending our heartfelt sympathy to the Large family. The city has received approximately $500, which I understand that number is closer to over $700 now in donations to the museum, which will bear his name. A formal dedication of the museum and a celebration of Don's contributions to Daytona Beach Shores will be held as soon as it is feasible. And lastly, at the last meeting, I was asked to poll some of our sister cities in regard to their contributions to the First Step homeless shelter. 2 cities have indicated that they have budgeted that contribution, Ponce Inlet and Holly Hill. The other 2 cities that I contacted, Ormond Beach and Port Orange, have not given any contribution to First Step for this year. And the 5th city that I polled, South Daytona, did not respond. So we're 2 and no response.
City Manager, may I ask you a couple of questions about, I've been getting also feedback about the tennis court, the bocce, and the shuffleboard. I see both of them are progressing along. Great news. Can you give me a little update on where we are in each of those?
Yes, bocce is coming along a little faster than shuffleboard because I think the need was there among players to play. The bocce court is very nearly, if not playable now. We still have some structural work to do to that facility, but our guys have done a really good job, Steve Edmonds and the crew, getting that built. The Shuffleboard courts should probably be completed in about 2 weeks when we do our sidewalks over there. That's my best guesstimate right now, and that's about all I can do.
Okay, and the tennis court has started construction?
We started grading the site for the company to come in and do the tennis courts, fast dry. They asked us to do some prep work, and we took the fence down around what will be the 6th tennis court in order for them to get in and do the necessary work that they need to do to get that built, hopefully in September.
Okay, great. And the bocce will be similar to what they had right now, that they'll have a little bit of privacy, maybe a fence and some shrubs. And I know they like to, are we all planning on putting a grill there as well? Because I know they like, yeah.
We promised we'd give bocce better than what they had, and I think we're going to accomplish that very well.
Okay, thank you for the update.
Thank you, Madam.
Any questions of the city manager?
Yeah, it was hard to hear his first step presentation. Could you summarize it?
Yeah, I said two cities contributed, 2 cities did not, and 1 city did not respond.
Were you able to hear that, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, and so what, do you recommend that we continue the funding as is in the budget now, based on your discussions?
Based on what I've heard so far, you could go either way. I would say at this point in time, given some of the problems that they have had, you might want to withhold funding.
And what would it take, city manager, to withhold the funding? Or Kurt, could you answer that? What would it take, just not paying it? You're on mute, Kurt.
Yes, at this point, they haven't submitted an invoice or anything, so all you have to do is tell me not to pay it.
Okay, can I have some of my other council members speak up? How do you feel about that? It's
I feel-
probably not what we thought we were in for when we committed to paying that.
I felt bad when we initially did it, and I really wasn't for it. And all of my fears came true. I would say I would not be for any more funding at the present time and the way it's going.
Okay. Councilman Frizzalone, do you have any opinion on that?
I'm not as up to speed on it as Mel is, to be quite honest with you, Nancy. So my thought process is I would secede my position to Mel. If Mel feels that strongly about it, I would back his decision. That's the way I feel about it. So I would basically support Mel's position.
Thank you. Councilman Politis, do you have any opinion on it? You'll have to unmute your, down at the bottom, unmute. Yes.
Technology. Okay. I agree in spirit with Mel and Rick, as long as we don't go back on any word or any commitment we made early on. If we made a commitment or gave our word, I'd like to at least someone draw it to my attention and let me evaluate the language to see if we did. And if we didn't, I agree with both gentlemen that there's no sense in funding, especially if we're not causing an expense upon that facility.
Okay, thank you. So based on that, Director Swartzlander, if you receive an invoice, let us know at the next meeting. But right now, I think we're in the decision that we're not going to continue to fund that.
Just to be clear, is that both?
No, that's not both. That's first step.
First
Okay.
step only.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody understood.
Yeah, first step.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the city manager before we move on to new business? We don't have anything under old business. Okay, if nothing else, we're going to go to new business. So this is ordinance 2020-09, public beach access walkway at the Aruba. Attorney Carey, can you read that for us, please?
You're saying you want me to read the short title right now?
No, read the ordinance.
Okay, this is an ordinance.
Oh, you need to unmute.
Okay. This ordinance is for, it goes along with the site plan for the Aruba condominium. The condominium has dedicated a public beach access walkway constructed by the condominium for South Atlantic Avenue sidewalk to the beach. The charter allows the city to accept conveyance of public beach access easements consistent with the requirement by the condominium association. and maintenance responsibility to the beach will belong to the River Ventures LLC. Passing this will allow them to make sure that that particular property is not taxable by the county, and we will forward that on passage of the ordinance to the county to save a little bit of money for the association, and that's the project. Do you have any questions?
Okay, so did you read ordinance 2020-09, if you can read?
Yeah.
Do you have that?
Yes.
Okay, yes, if you could read that, please. Good, thank you.
Ordinance 2020-09, an ordinance of the city of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, accepting dedication of public beach access easement from River Ventures LLC pursuant to section 7.05 of the city charter, providing for conflicting ordinance severability and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Attorney Carey. City Planner Cruz? You're on mute, but so this is a normal, can you just go over it with us? Whenever we get a new condo, this is kind of a normal thing that we do. They also provide a walkway, is that correct?
That is correct, Madam Mayor. Good evening to everyone. So the city's land development code requires the dedication of a public beach walkway easement from South Atlantic Avenue to the beach for every condo or every hotel that has a certain frontage, meaning 120 feet in terms of frontage along A1A. And this ordinance is actually, the conveyance through this ordinance is actually a requirement for a charter. So this is just something administrative that we do routinely whenever a new project goes online. And they're nearing CO, from what I was made to understand, sometime towards the end of October.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Cruz? If not, we have the suggested motion down at the bottom. Do I hear a motion to approve ordinance 2020-09?
Brian,
Go
approve.
ahead.
Councilman Lindauer, was that you?
It
Making
was
the
me
motion?
and somebody else, but
Yeah.
yes,
Bur-
I move that
okay.
we approve the ordinance 2020 as presented.
Okay, it was Councilman Lindauer and then Vice Mayor
And
Bryant, second.
Brian, second.
Okay, any discussion on this ordinance? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Councilman Lindauer,
Yes,
Vice Mayor Bryan,
Yes.
Councilman Frizzlo,
Yes.
Councilman
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Next, we're going on to, we had a budget workshop where a lot of topics went up. As in a workshop, we cannot vote on it. So Director Swartzlander, do you want to go over, what we talked about, the rollback rate, paying off some of the debts?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. As we talked about at the workshop, and I know I've talked to each of you individually, but at the workshop, we thought there was going to be a pretty significant savings by paying off some of the debt. That turns out to not be the case, as I've talked with each of you, but the public needs to know that as well. However, in that discussion, it's changed from a savings opportunity now to a kind of a discussion that we need to have about what it would be a good fund balance policy to have in place while we have nothing formal. The debt discussion will kind of lead in that direction of what is an acceptable level of debt and what do we do with any excess reserves. I'm sorry, I'm saying debt, I mean fund balance. So if you'll indulge me for a minute, I'm going to try and share my screen. I have a 8-slide PowerPoint here. I'll kind of walk you through what you saw, where we were at before. And let me share my screen.
And we can see it quite well. Before it was like an towel effect. And yes, wow, Kurt, we can see that very well. Thank you so much.
Okay, so you can, hopefully these slides come out clearly.
So far, so good.
So what you have before you tonight is the proposed budget amendment we discussed on that Friday workshop, which is to pay off that first debt. You've seen this slide before. So we have the 5 debts out there right now. And what we're going to be talking about first, and the resolution for tonight is to talk about these two debts that you see, the general fund facilities and then the sewer improvement. I'm going to start with the sewer one. That's the easiest one. We'll save about $23,000 in interest on that one. We have around 9 million in fund balance. On that one, it's about 851,000 to pay that off. With adoption of that resolution tonight, we will proceed. We're actually set to pay that off tomorrow with your blessing tonight on the resolution. The other one's a little bit bigger issue. That is the general fund facilities. We talked about paying that one off with mostly reserves that are debt reserves. So if you remember this slide, the 3,056,000 there in blue has been already set aside to pay this debt back, but it would require an additional 1,561,000 to pay off that bond in full. We will have some steps to do that. I can't pay that one tomorrow like I can the sewer because this is a swap agreement. So we have to hire, as I put in an email to all of you, a qualified, it's a QIR, and I just drew a blank on the I. It's qualified independent representative. So for all three, I've gotten an initial quote that would cost us just under $25,000 to do that for all three swaps. Anytime you pay one off under the Dodd-Frank Act, now we have to have a QIR. If we ran to maturity, we would not have to pay those, pay a QIR to do it, because it's in the language already that when paid to maturity, they expire. So
Kurt, 25,000 for all three, loan 1, 2, and 3?
correct. Yes.
What exactly do they do for $25,000? I'm just curious.
It's the
Paperwork.
It's paperwork, and it's the Dodd-Frank compliance paperwork that goes into all of that. There's apparently a process that I'm just starting to learn about. But that's what they get paid for.
Okay, thank you.
So the big question, as I said, this kind of turns into a fund balance policy. So let me back up here a little bit. You'll see that right now we have 3 million available for debt service set aside to just that first 2005 series bond. The other 3 that are set aside under the voted debt for the undergrounding utilities, we have 2.257 million set aside, and then we have that unassigned balance of 13.6, almost 13.7 million. So if we do pay off this first one, we will use that amount of money, and it reduces the unassigned to 12,120. So I'm going to simplify this a little bit and show you that if we do that first one, for the discussion on the further ones in next budget year, because I'm kind of needing to get direction tonight as well on what to bring back on September 9th in the budget of whether you want to continue and pay off the others as well. So tonight, this has gone from just a vote on the resolution to amend the budget and pay off those 2 to a further discussion on what we want to do with the other 3. So if we do that, you'll see our unassigned drop to 12,120,000, still leaves us the 2.2 million for the voted debt, and that gives us 14,377,000 in available fund balance. And that's where we kind of begin next year on October 1 at. So now I'm going to transition and talk about the other 3 that are the voted debt. What's labeled as tranche number 3 there, we're paying off October 1 anyways. So that one kind of disappears real easily and quick. So we're left talking about number 1 and number 2. If we choose to pay those off next year based on the scenario that I had originally talked about, it does cost slightly more to do so, but let me tell you what happens if we don't do that. If we just choose tonight to pay off the general fund debt and the sewer debt and then let the others run to maturity, you're all aware that we have a voted debt millage rate of 1.7350 this year. Next year, we would have to levy an approximate, and I'm using this year's property values to come up with this calculation, but to raise enough revenue to pay it off, if we do it straight through the voted millage rate, the following year, we would have to tax our citizens a millage rate of 1.48, which is roughly 2.4 million. Now, obviously, the property values are going to change for next year. So that number would change, but that's an approximate based on current property values. And the reason I'm showing this is if we do this, we won't be using any other fund balance other than that 2.2 million that's reserved for GO debt. And the rest will be raised to pay off through taxes, additional taxes in the 2021-22 fiscal year. If we choose to do the proposal that I'm talking about and have recommended, we will still levy the tax for the 1.735 mils this coming year. We'd use $1,631,000 in unassigned fund balance over the year, and you'll see that reduces our fund balance level to $10,490,000. So that keeps us around that 10 million number that we had talked about before, that staff is pretty comfortable at 10 million. If council is comfortable at 10 million, we can do that by using and pay off the debts by September 30th. We would be debt-free as a city by September 30th, 2021. So in 13 months, we would be debt-free. I think that's a phenomenal goal for the city. The city's done a great job over the years of maintaining a very strong fund balance. To remind people, we used fund balance to pay for the community center. So we've had healthy reserves. And I believe 10 million is a good solid number in dollars these days to keep the city safe from any hurricanes or other unique situations that may arise. I hate to suggest anything in 2020. You don't know what that's going to bring. So that is my recommendation tonight, but I'm looking for feedback from council on how you would like to proceed. If you believe 10 million is a good number for the city in reserves, and you want to use that excess to pay off this debt, we can do so.
Madam Mayor, Commissioner, Councilman Politis would like to say a few things or ask a few questions.
Certainly.
But you can go first if you want to go first.
No, you go ahead. Yes, you go ahead, Councilman.
Kurt.
Yes.
In our budget meeting that we had, I thought the strategy was to use the reserves monies that are not earning a high interest rate and utilize those monies to pay off the debts that have a high interest rate. And that way we didn't have to hit the taxpayers for that debt millage that we charged. In fact, I thought I left that meeting that if everything went the way you had proposed, we wouldn't even have to impose a millage. Now, that being said, I think we'll have to incorporate some kind of millage because the property values will go down and therefore the overall millage rate may have to go up just to fund the city budget. But back to this particular project, I thought the whole design of the project was to use the reserves that were earning very little interest rate of return and paying off debts that had a higher interest expense. So I don't know now why we all of a sudden you've incorporated some type of millage rate for 2021.
Can I make a comment?
Can I have the finance director answer that question first, Vice Mayor, before we go on?
Okay.
So for fiscal year 2020, 2021, we've always had to have the millage rate. So let me go back. This slide shows you if we did not use any reserves this year and the following year, 2021, 2022, we would have to levy taxes. So the proposal at the workshop, we would have to have had, no matter what, used 1.735 mils in the coming fiscal year beginning October 1, no matter what. Well, I say that. That was the direction council was looking at going. We could use straight reserves and pay it all off. The issue there was that you'll see that only collecting the taxes for 1 year here takes you down to that 10,490,000. What would happen is if we had just used available fund balance and paid everything off in full, we would have gone down to about 7.5 million. And staff didn't feel comfortable in discussions at the last workshop. Everybody felt comfortable keeping us around 10 million. So we have the voted debt this year, but the following year, if we did nothing, the following year we would have to have a second year of taxes. Right now, we do not have that, and that reduction in taxes for year 2 means we don't collect. It was going to be about 2.4 million in dollars that we will not be collecting in the second year that we would have normally collected to pay off these debt.
Did that answer your question, Councilman Politis?
It does, because now it changes the complexion of what we were talking about in the budget meeting. In the budget meeting, we were going to pay off the 2 debts for sure, because we saw it was cost efficient and we all had a pretty good consensus. Now you're talking about taking care of the 3 in the middle, but using the debt and funding the debt service. You want to and fund the payoff. You want to do the millage rate. And that's where I have a little bit of reservation in charging the taxpayers for the, the whole purpose was to use unused monies or monies that aren't being earned. Now, if you are comfortable with an approximate $10 million in reserves, then let's just get to that, spend what we can, and leave the rest alone. Because my fear is next year, people won't be in as good a financial shape as a result of the virus and the elections and the market and all the different things that are going to happen. I just don't want us to have to make the commitment today. So I'm prepared to make the commitment for the 2 and the sewer fund and the general fund, but I don't know if I want to make a commitment on the 3 in the middle.
So my opinion is, let me go down. My opinion is, I've gone over this several times with Kurt. We came out of that last budget meeting, but unfortunately, the information that we were provided by the lender was incorrect. So the picture totally changes on what we can do now, what monies we have available. That 1.73 was a voted debt that people know that they're going to be charged. So I really like the idea in 13 months to have everything paid off. Right now we're going down to a 4. I hope we vote on a 5.04 millage rate. If in 13 months we can say to the city, we're going to get you out of debt, we will have absolutely 0 debt. And by the way, we'll have 10 million in our reserves, unassigned reserves. That's the scenario that I've studied and I like the most. So I just wanted to give my opinion on this. I know, Vice Mayor, you have something else that you wanted to add?
Yeah.
Can I, Richard, if I may, this is Councilman Frizzalone. I agree with the mayor's position 100%.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yeah, I was going to answer Councilman Politis' original question. The compelling reason, at least in my mind, for paying off the debt was the $800,000 that we would save by what you mentioned, the difference between 0.5% and maybe 4%. Turns out there are penalties for doing that, and it wiped out the $800,000. So now what we're talking about, then we were talking about if we paid off all the debts, we would save $800,000, and we would give the taxpayers about $2.4 million in tax savings. And if we still want to do that, that's fine. But I'm just saying that that compelling reason for saving the money is no longer there.
Hey, Kurt,
Lindauer,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mel.
one of the things that Richard mentioned is we thought we were going to get 800,000 in savings, but we also, more importantly, were after next year, we were going to be saving over $2 million a year in taxpayer money. So despite the fact that we're not going to save the 800,000, I think being debt-free in 13 months and saving the taxpayers following that $2 million a year is overwhelming, and I'm in favor of that.
Madam Mayor, can I ask Kurt another question?
Certainly.
Kurt, what was the response from the representative of the lenders with regards to the unilateral mistake that both you as well as the city council relied on? Did they ever come to, to respond to that?
So I had sent them an email, and I have yet to get a response to that email. I did get a phone call from the credit folks, and what they told me was they have now changed their process for handling these requests, but they weren't going to put anything in writing to my email. And I'm paraphrasing, basically to say that we're not going to admit in writing any liability for incorrect information.
Not to sound like a jerk, but did they give it to you in writing, or was this
what I received originally was in writing in an email? Yes.
Well, we got a city attorney. I bet you we could get Becky and her firm involved to see if they. Well, first of all, I'm going to go with the flow, and I agree that this is the right decision to make to go ahead and retire this debt. However, we have Becky and her resources, and I'm sure this is not the first time they've had this particular issue. I can assure you that if we allow her and her staff, they might be able to get them to either waive some of the fees or reduce some of the fees in response to the city's detrimental reliance on their representations that were not accurate. It's worth a shot.
Can you weigh in on that? Do you understand the issue of what happened, Attorney Carey?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll need to get the documents from Kurt.
Yeah.
That we need to review to see what legal avenues we might have. That's something that we could certainly look into.
It's worth it, but I'm in agreement, Nancy. When we call it up for the question, I think that the savings to the taxpayers is enough to warrant enacting the proposed motion that someone's going to author.
Yes, Mel Lindauer, I like your idea though, Mike. I think it's great. I wasn't sure whether we had it in writing or not, but now that we know we have it in writing, I think we have a strong case.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Exactly.
We will definitely pursue that.
Okay, thank you.
You go, Becky.
Go get him, Becky.
Go get him.
Okay, so Kurt, going back to you, now that it seems that we've heard from each member of council and it seems that we're in agreement that we're comfortable with the $10 million in reserves and that we like the idea and we think our citizens would like the idea of being debt-free in 13 months, what motion do you need, or what do you need from us this evening?
Resolution.
So, I've got consensus of what to put in the budget for September 9th, but tonight I would need the resolution passed that would allow us to pay off the sewer one tomorrow and then start the process on the general fund agreement. And we can get that hopefully done before September 30th. So I need that budget, or the budget amendment resolution adopted tonight.
That's that 2020-07.
Correct.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, Mel, would you like to do the motion then, please?
I sure would. I move that we approve resolution 20-20 or 2020-07.
And that's Councilman Lindauer. Do I hear a second?
Politis will second.
Councilman Politis will second. And before we go for a vote, do we have any other concerns, anything else that we need to talk about? I think this is a win-win for the city. Even if nothing happens, I know that our capable attorneys will pursue this, but if it doesn't go, I think it's still very important that in 13 months we say to our constituents that we're debt-free. This is what we're giving you. And Kurt, when do we actually do a vote on that 5.04 millage rate?
That vote for both the 5.04 millage rate and the 1.73 voted debt will take place on September 9th and the final vote on September 22nd. And since I have the opportunity, I just want to remind everybody that the September 9th meeting is a Wednesday. That's the one each year that we have to move because it's in conflict with the school board meeting. So we're holding ours Wednesday this year rather than Tuesday.
Okay, Monday was the Labor Day, a holiday.
Correct.
All right, thank you. And again, Kurt and I have discussed this, and hopefully the COVID will decline as it has been, but we need to hold that meeting in person because of the way it was publicized. Is that correct, Kurt?
Yes, because when we originally voted on this, we put it in that the citizens could come to the council chambers to participate in that budget discussion. So what can happen is we can still do it as a in-person, but if somebody wants to, say a council member needs to Zoom into the meeting, it'll be kind of a hybrid. You can be in person, but I believe the 10-person limit is still in effect and most likely will be then. So I've talked with Nancy Maddox about having a way to allow, if we have an overflow of people, that we can space them out and bring them in one at a time to discuss their considerations of the millage rate and the budget.
Okay, and we'll discuss that more in advance. I think that our citizens felt very comfortable. I'm looking at the chairs right now that they're spaced out. If people are 6 feet apart, I believe we can have more than 10. We'll discuss it at that time, but I would like to do that. And then if anyone wants to come in one by one, I want to make sure that we give them the opportunity to say anything that they want to. So we will work that out, but plan on that we'll allow our residents to be here in person.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I think it's important too that not only do we stress in the 13 months we'll be debt free, but that in subsequent years, the residents will be saving approximately $2 million in debt payments.
Good point. Yes. Thank you, Mel.
So their taxes would be low.
So do we need a vote?
Yep, call the question.
Okay.
Councilmember Lindell,
Yes.
Councilmember Toilet,
Yes.
Councilmember Frizzalone,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bryan,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we are going on to Resolution 2020-08, Transmittal of Comprehensive Plan Amendment. Attorney Carey, do you have something to read for us on that?
Yes, this is a resolution relating to a comprehensive plan amendment. So the comprehensive plan amendments require an initial hearing at the Development Agency, the zoning board, and then a resolution is transmitted to the state DEO, and the state DEO reviews it, and after the state DEO approves it, it comes back to us for ratification. So this is your first step in the process for the transmittal, and this is resolution 2020-08, and I can read it into the record if you'd like.
Yes, please. Please do.
The resolution of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to comprehensive plan, accepting proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan update 2030, Chapter 1, Future Land Use Element, for transmittal purposes to the State Department of Economic Opportunity Review Agency, providing for implementing action, providing for severability, providing for conflict of prior action, providing for compensation, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. City Planner Cruz, this is a normal thing that we've gone through before. Can you explain it a little bit to us?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, so the city attorney and yourself, you're both correct. So this particular amendment would be transmitted to the Department of Economic Opportunity for their review. Council members may recall that this precipitated last year when Mr. Donald Banker made a special exception request to the city to basically square off the building on the second floor. And so this is just part of the process to make that a reality. So one thing I want to mention to the council members is that next month, or actually the city staff and the city attorney, they're currently reviewing draft language to the land development code that would actually implement this comprehensive plan amendment. And that will be going to the Planning and Zoning Board next month. And shortly thereafter, I believe in September and October, the city council will be seeing that land development code amendment as well.
Okay, Stuart, so this means, I remember the particular gentleman that came for us, but that not only includes him. Who else might be included in the approval of this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this doesn't speak specifically to him, but his application last year was the impetus behind this particular amendment and the subsequent land development code change. So basically all single-family non-conforming properties that are on beachside that are in the hotel, motel, or the condo zoning or future land use will basically be able to square off their building as long as they don't exceed the existing building height of the building.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Stuart, just for clarification, that's the height or the width. They do not expand either direction, correct?
Correct. So they'll be able to square off to the existing full footprint in
Right.
terms of a horizontal dimension, and in terms of vertical, they wouldn't be able to go beyond the existing building height. Correct.
Right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, do I hear a motion to approve resolution 2020-08?
Brian moves to approve.
That's right. Go, Richard.
Yeah, Brian moves to approve.
Thank you. Do we hear a second?
Politis will
Councilman
second.
Politis, second. And any other discussion on this? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Vice Mayor Bryan,
Richard?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bryan, do you say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Politis,
Yes.
Councilmember Chris Long,
Yes.
Councilmember Lindauer,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes. Okay, next we're moving on to a regular site plan, RSP 12020018. Just want to inform you that we are pulling this from the agenda and it will be continued on our meeting of 9/9/20. Okay, next we'll go on to the next item. And this is a discussion on Stroud's Barbecue, the 90-day trial outdoor smoker. Director Hyatt, are you the one that's going to give us an update on this, or who's speaking to this one?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll speak to it.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, City Council. So you'll remember in July, I think it was July 14th or 15th, the council enacted a moratorium, a 90-day moratorium to have a test site at the 2518 Plaza up at Pappas Plaza to try for the Stroud Barbecue Smoker. So we enacted this resolution, this moratorium, to not enforce our existing rules up there because some of the things that they would have wanted to do with that, they wouldn't have been able to do. And there was also a 90-day agreement. And within both the moratorium and the agreement is an opt-out clause for the city council in the event that we ran into complaints or issues. And so not too long after they opened up, we ran into, there was a small fire when they initially started working on the smoker. Public safety responded, and I think it was out by the time they got there, but they just had to move some wood around. That wasn't a real big deal. But then what started happening was some of the tenants and the smoke that was being generated as they were cooking. And so as you can see, I put some of the complaints that we've got, some letters of complaints. The tenants were complaining. One of the laundromat tenant complained that he was getting so much smoke into his place that he'd lost 2 clients, I think one of the letters says. And then, but the big thing was that the property owner, Mr. Chris Pappas, and he may or may not be on tonight, sent a letter saying that he had never given them permission to place that big smoker in the parking lot. And he was requesting that they remove it. So I agended this based on the complaints, based on, they also have opened prematurely, which really doesn't have anything to do with the 90-day smoker, but just to inform the council, they opened without their certificate of use, and they're paying their business tax receipt. I've talked with the Strouds, and they felt like it was a little bit of a misunderstanding. They thought they had everything in order, but they're missing a couple things, and hopefully they'll get them. The biggest outstanding thing with that is their lease with Mr. Pappas, and now since they're both arguing, the city doesn't have a current lease for the right property. But I will tell you that I did speak with Ashley Stroud, and the property owner has demanded that it be removed by, I think the initial request or demand was that it be removed by August 21st. And ultimately, they agreed to move it, and they're saying that they'll have the smoker out of there by August 28th, this Friday. And they plan to move it somewhere out of the city and get a license to use it as a portable, cooking up there. So, but in light of the complaints we received and some of the, they also failed to enclose it. There's an affidavit in the packet from Gwen Herstein, who went out, did an inspection. They didn't have it enclosed like they were supposed to with a mesh enclosure, and they didn't have some no trespassing signs that they were being required. But it'd be my recommendation that we go ahead and terminate both the moratorium and the 90-day smoker agreement. It's somewhat moot, like I said, because they're gonna move it anyway this Friday. But I don't think we would need it anymore. And maybe it's my thoughts. We ought to go ahead and cancel it, terminate it. Okay.
So more or less it worked itself out. And we did say it would be 90 days if there was no issue, and this was certainly an issue. So this is just a discussion. I mean, my feeling is if it's not moved by the 20th, well, that we'd be canceling the recommendation we did for the 90 days. Does anyone not agree with me that we should not cancel the 90 days that we gave them?
No, I think that we gave them a chance, and so we need to do whatever we need to do to protect the citizens in the city.
Anyone feel differently? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. So Fred, I know this was just a discussion. You just need a consensus from us, correct?
Well, I would defer to the attorney on that question, but I do also just want to say that the Strouds still hope to work their differences out with their landlord. I spoke with her today, and they do want to stay in the city, and they do want to find an alternative way to cook their food. So hopefully that'll all work.
And I personally hope so too. Ed and I went there one day, and then I gave a recommendation to several of our neighbors that went and were happy with it. And as we all are saying, we want more businesses, especially dinner restaurants in the shores. So I'm hoping they work it out. But Attorney Carey, so what happened was we gave them the 90 days with no incident. So I think I'm getting a consensus now that we want to avoid that. What is the action we need to take?
So you would have to have a motion and a second to terminate the 90-day trial period and moratorium, and then a vote. Since it was a vote to initially institute moratorium, you need a subsequent vote.
Okay, thank you. Do I
Madam
hear?
Mayor, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say that in the actual 90-day agreement, it does say if the council just votes on what Attorney Carey said, we'd have to send that to them. Send written notice is what the agreement says. So we just send them written notice that it's been terminated if that's what the council ends up doing.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion to terminate that 90 days that we did give the Stroud Barbecue?
Lindauer, I move that we terminate the contract. I'm sorry that I brought it up, but I thought we might work out.
No, we're trying to give them a chance, Mel. Yeah. No, I think that's completely fair. Do I hear a second on that motion?
Councilman Frizzle, second.
Lindauer, Frizzle. Okay, any other discussion on it? Okay, if not, Sherry, can you take a roll?
Councilmember Politis, are you still sitting out for this vote?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm still sitting out under a conflict of interest. So we'll avoid any appearance of impropriety.
Thank you. So, Councilmember Lindauer.
Was it Lindauer or Frizzalone?
Lindauer.
Yes.
Councilmember Frizzalone.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bryan.
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Okay, next we're moving on to a CARES Act funding. So I'd like to read into record a letter that I wrote. Thank you very much, City Manager Booker, for collaborating with me on this letter. So I wrote this letter on July 8th to Mr. William Kozer. He's the Special Assistant to the President, the Deputy Director of the White House Intergovernmental Affairs. Dear Mr. Kozer, as Mayor of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, I strongly urge you to provide direct funding to cities to reduce the burden we have suffered due to the severe impact of COVID-19. The City of Daytona Beach Shores has an older population. The average age of our citizens is 66.5. We have a large tourist population. Therefore, we are extremely vulnerable to this dreaded disease. Direct funding to cities, especially smaller ones like Daytona Beach Shores, would allow us to respond more quickly and effectively to growing demands of our citizens. Please enable direct funding to our cities like ours. Thank you for your consideration. So what did happen, the CARES Act is a federal act, and those monies go on down to the state and then the county. So instead of the money staying at the county, there were several mayors that wrote similar letters. And we're happy to say that those funds came directly down to the city. So based on our population, again, hence why the census is so important, we got around $160,000. So we were able to spend it on direct COVID-19 expenses. Examples would be, for a time being, we are having our employees work at home. So we purchased laptops, software, card access restriction, sanitizer, masks, plexiglass in City Hall, if any of you have been on the first or second floor, to protect our employees. So all of that will be reimbursed through this CARES Act. Director Swartzlander, is there anything else I'm forgetting that we use the money for?
One of the biggest things is we're looking at also UV light to kill germs in our air conditioning systems. The catch with this is that we have spent a bunch of money already, and we'll immediately seek reimbursement for that. However, some of this is stuff that we have to do yet. The card access, the ultraviolet filtering stuff. I'm not an AC guy, so excuse the terminology. I guess the AC germ filter means UV light systems, and there may be some problems with getting that done by December 31st because we have to have everything expensed and complete by December 31st. But we'll work with Fred's folks on getting that done as quickly as possible because there may be some RFP issues that would slow this process down. In addition, I was told that there's about a 12-week lead time on some of the air conditioning issues. So we may have to look for alternatives to that, but as you stated, we have up to $160,000 we're eligible for, and we're going to try and get every dollar of that we can for the city.
I know you will. Thank you very much. So if there's no questions of either one of this, what we're looking for is a motion now to execute the sub-receipt agreement between the county and the city that the funds came directly to us. So do I hear a motion to approve that agreement?
Brian so moves.
Linda, our second.
Brian, okay. Any other questions or any other comments on it? We're very happy that this money is coming to the city so we can spend it as we need it.
Yeah.
I do. Go ahead, Richard.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask Kurt, does it look like we're going to be able to get or qualify for the full $160,000?
Oh,
yes, we submitted a budget for that full amount, and there are some additional things we could add.
Okay, good.
So if certain things end up not being able to happen, we have some alternatives in place that we believe we could fill in. They wouldn't be as good as certain things, but we believe we can still get the full funding.
Good.
And Vice Mayor, you had a comment?
Yes. Is air conditioning a line item in the budget that you submitted?
It's the ultraviolet lighting that goes in the AC unit.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Basically revamp the air conditioning system to help kill COVID,
Correct.
coronavirus.
Yes.
Yeah. And do you know, or maybe this is a question for Fred, whether we have investigated whether that is effective or not?
Fred, do you have an answer to that? Do you happen to know from talking to other folks, or do we know if this UV is effective?
Well, I mean, I believe it's effective. We haven't really done any investigation. We're kind of piggybacking on what other cities have done, and we're depending on the mechanical contractor that quoted it. But as far as I've been led to believe that it's definitely a help, you know, and the more you can do, the cleaner the air would be. So makes sense to me.
Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you. If no further discussion, Sharon, can you take a roll?
Vice Mayor Bryan,
Vice Mayor Bryan?
Yes.
Councilmember Lindauer,
Yes.
Councilmember Frislow,
Yes.
Councilmember Politis,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, this next item, and this is just a discussion, and I asked this to be brought up this time, and it doesn't necessarily have to happen now, but I want to go back to a promotion that our staff worked very hard on. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Gwen. I know, and Stuart, you were very instrumental in this. So a lot of our businesses are suffering right now. And if you remember, it was that temporary promotion activity that we had. I'll maybe have, I don't know who would be the expert on this, Stuart or Fred, but it was just giving the businesses a little more incentive. Refresh my memory, Fred, but was it 21 days and you could split it up and you could have tents and things like that? I want to do whatever we can for the business. So refreshing your memory, we went back and said that we would give them 30 days and then we're going to sunset it. As it turned out, it was just poor timing. I think we only had 1 or 2 that applied, but the ones that did, Gwen was instrumental. I stopped every day just to make sure that it didn't get out of hand, didn't turn into a circus. And the ones that we did visit were very high quality, did not cause any problems whatsoever. So instead of sunsetting this, and I'm not saying if I want this to start October 1st, November 1st, but I want to have a discussion on it about implementing this, that for the year, I believe it's 21 days, but Fred, is it you that would talk on it, or who would know the best what we did?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'd be happy to speak on it. So this ordinance, and I think I can speak for the rest of the staff, we felt kind of been a long time coming. I know it's controversial to some folks, but especially with COVID-19 and right now, you know, we've kind of relaxed some of our rules. We're letting businesses have some temporary signs outside, some exposure and stuff right now with COVID. But, you know, but even that is not enough to sometimes help them with grand openings and with, you know, some of the special events and things. And so we put together the ordinance and it passed on first reading, but at second reading, a few citizens were concerned with how it would work out. And so the council decided to give it 90 days and let the ordinance sunset. But as far as I know, we got no complaints from it. And so we, you know, in our opinion, and the way it basically worked is every business would have up to 21 days to do something out in front of their place of business. And we wrote the ordinance. We went, you know, round and round to try to, you know, to address all the different kinds of concerns that we had. And so each business could have it, they'd have to pull a permit and the council could decide, you know, whether to charge them a fee or how much the fee would be to, you know, maybe a small fee to compensate the city from having to go out and inspect it to make sure that they're doing everything they're supposed to be. But the minimum of 3-day periods, and you could have, I guess, a maximum. I don't think we restricted the maximum. It was limited to 500 square feet in front of your business plus an additional 2 feet for your frontage. And if you had merchandise and stuff, it had to be in a tent or something of that nature. And you could have a couple banner signs, as I recall. But Not a lot of businesses knew about it, so not a lot of them took advantage of it when we initially tried it. But so it's at the council's pleasure. But if there's any more questions about it, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, so I'd like the council to weigh in. I'm in favor of this. I want to do whatever we can to help the businesses. And again, this is August. I'm not saying that we implement it right now with some of the COVID going on, but I want everyone to think about it and see if maybe on October 1st, worst case, January 2021, that we started out then. Enough notice is the business news that this would be something that's available to them. I'm not very interested in charging for a permit and trying to make any money off of this. I'd like to do this to try and help the businesses as much as we can. But I'd like to hear from the rest of the council what your thoughts are.
Lindauer?
Yes.
Yes, I agree. I want to do everything I can to help the businesses that does not cause the city to become a circus. But I think that Fred and Gwen and the staff would do a good job of policing that and making sure that it doesn't. So I am all in favor of it.
And Mel, if we did it, when would you like to start it again, in October 1st or?
Well, I'm trying to think if there, Fred, are there any big event dates that are
Well,
coming
that Bike Week is still up in the air, is it not, or did they decide no? I was asking.
They said no to Bike Week, or to Biketoberfest. I'm sorry, to Biketoberfest. But that's I am flexible in terms of when we do it, when we start it. I don't know that we even want to put a sunset provision in it.
Yeah, I don't think we do this time. I'd like to see this going forward. The staff worked very hard on it. I think we saw that it was very high class. There was no problems with it whatsoever. So thank you, Councilman Lindauer. Councilman Frizzalone, I know you're a big proponent of businesses, so.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Nancy. I would do it October 1st. I would waive the permitting fee, and I am on board with your recommendation 100%.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Bryan?
Yeah, I concur.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Politis?
I agree with everyone's opinions. I think you're absolutely correct. We need to help support the businesses, especially through this tough time. So you've got, I'm in as well.
Okay, so Fred, can I ask you for you and your staff to go over and maybe tweak it again, and then in one of the, probably the first September meeting, bring it to us. And, if we voted on that time, then at least that gives them, 3 weeks starting on October 1st. But because we didn't sunset it like we did the 30 days last time, I think it would be more benefit to the businesses.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I think that when and if it sounds like it's going to pass, that we, maybe Fred can put together some kind of an informational piece, which we can go around to the businesses and make sure that the businesses know. I mean, I'd be glad to go and let the businesses know what this program is about, so we don't end up with the same thing where we have something that can benefit them that they don't know about.
And then we can use all of our social media platforms that we have.
Yes.
Okay, Fred, would that be okay if you look it over again? And
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. I did want to clarify though, this, and I don't know how the attorney or Stuart would feel, but if we don't make any real changes, substantive changes to the existing ordinance, which I haven't heard any problems with anything that was within it. The Planning and Zoning Board's already made their recommendation, on that. So I would think we could just possibly just bring it back to council for another first reading and then another second reading. But if you did want us to tweak it, or if there were some things you wanted us to work on, we could do that and then bring it back to P&Z first, but it would be up to the pleasure of the council. But I did want to say that, the thing about this is if, even though you're not doing it for a 90-day trial period or what have you, if we start getting complaints or, and I know Councilmember Lindauer said, we don't want to turn things into a circus, and, that's going to be a subjective opinion, from people. Some might think it's a circus. Well, I might think it's perfectly fine, but it's the kind of thing that we can come back and tweak at any time, if we see that we're having problems, and, so I just wanted to point that out.
Well, this would be very similar to the Strouds thing. We put that on a 90-day thing, and it didn't work out. So we make the change if needed.
Because the staff, we had to take some liberties with what we felt like maybe would be right for the community, given the current council's business friendly, attitude towards things. And so but we did have to take some guesses and liberties. We think this would work. We think that would work. But it's not going to be a problem to come back and tweak it if you guys find some little parts of it that need to be changed.
Well, Fred, I think that you should know that we trust your judgment. At least I do.
Thank you.
So Attorney Carey, where are we at right now on this? I think we're a consensus that we'd like to reenact it. So do we need a first reading on September 9th and a second reading on the 24th and then implement it October 1st?
Yes, this is a land development regulation. The statutes do require that it has a public hearing in front of the planning and zoning board. But as I understand it, before our firm was here, that already happened.
Is that correct, Fred? It did, and they passed it?
Yeah, and when it went in front of the planning and zoning board, it wasn't the time period wasn't the 90-day sunset. It was for a regular ordinance, and they recommended in favor of it, as I recall. So it was only during the second reading that the sunset idea came up. It actually didn't even make it into the text language of the ordinance. It doesn't say anything about sunsetting in the ordinance if you look at it, but it was voted on by council to only make it 90 days.
So if this has already had its hearing before planning and zoning board, which I've heard it has,
correct,
then you can go to first reading, second reading of the following. It would require a public hearing.
Okay.
So be aware of that.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, can you put that on the agenda? Thank you. Okay, anything else on that subject, or can we move on? Okay, moving on. This next item is, at one time, and Councilman Politis, this was you, that we had talked about council member activities, going outside of the council, representing yourself. And that was at the time that we went through several different attorneys, and I had an issue with some of the wording. And I think we found out that it just dropped and we didn't do anything else about it. So in speaking with Becky, she was able to come up with a, is this an ordinance here? It's an ordinance that, I'd like us to look over and adopt. So this is, just saying, if you're looking at 2.1.4, when any of us go outside of the city, communicating with other cities, with the council, whatever, that we are very, very clear that we are not representing the city. Do you remember, Councilman Politis, when you talked about this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what happened was, it was just a discussion and a proposal, and we did get a consensus, but we never put it down to writing because of the changes that we had in attorneys. So now this is the ordinance or a policy.
Is it open for discussion?
Oh, certainly, yes.
I think everything is good, but I think the last 4 lines, we may want to, particularly people that are thinking about running in 2 years. The way I read it, it says anytime you start a conversation or send an email or anything, you have to say something like, this is my opinion and I'm not representing the city council. And I think it should be worded differently than that, because some people might be looking just to, and the penalty is malfeasance in the ordinance. So, if you just inadvertently start talking to somebody and issue your opinion without saying, this is my opinion and I'm not representing the council, I think you could easily be considered in violation of those last 4 lines.
And Vice Mayor, when you say last 4 lines, are you talking on page 2 of 3 or?
Yeah, 2.1.4.
Okay.
I can read it if you want, or you can just.
I have it in front of me right now. Do I have any other council person's opinion on that, or how could it be changed? I don't know if we want to ask Attorney Carey or Attorney Boyce. You were the one that drafted this up. Do you have any opinion on it?
I can, if somebody has an opinion, I can suggest a change.
Okay, and what change are you suggesting?
Well, I think I think most people would assume that we aren't speaking for council. So I would change it to say that we should, if we're speaking for council, we would explicitly say we are speaking for council. Otherwise, we just strongly encourage you to use the words, "I'm not speaking for council." To make it sense for not including those words with every discussion, I think is pretty onerous.
Councilman Politis, I'm going to refer back to you since you were the one that first brought this up. Can you weigh in your feelings on this?
My opinion is the language in 2-1.4A in the last 4 lines that Vice Mayor Bryan's talking about is pretty clear. I mean, you don't want to confuse the public. That's the goal. The goal is, and you know, this is my personal opinion as a city councilman, and it does not reflect on the opinions of the city or the city council. I think, you know, Richard, with all due respect, I do believe that the language is very clear and unequivocal. And I don't know how often. Yeah, but I don't know how often you get into a scenario where you have to do that. For me, it doesn't happen often at all. And in fact, when it did happen, what I would do is I would delegate to either the mayor or to the city manager for an opinion on behalf of the city, because the newspaper called me on several occasions and said, no, I'm not giving you my personal opinion or my opinion as an individual city council. Call the mayor or call the manager. I think this is the language that we need, though, in order to make what we're trying to do effective. All we want to do is make sure that none of us go out and communicate to an entity or a third party something that is not endorsed by the rest of the city or the city council. So I respectfully disagree. I think it's very clear.
You brought up an important point, Michael. I hadn't thought about it, but when I get a call from the press and they ask, why did you vote a certain way or whatever, should I decline that, or should I say they're asking why I voted a certain way or what my opinion was on that?
Yeah, you know, remember a long time ago we had that conversation that if we all agree to disagree, we leave the city council meeting as unified. And so, yeah, if you get a news reporter that wants you, well, what's the reason why you had the dissenting opinion? And you know what? The perfect answer that I would give is it's reflected in the city minutes. All the discussion on that particular topic are in the city minutes. You can call Sherry and she can either give you a copy of the tape. And if you didn't tape it, well, that's too bad. You should have been there. But for them to dig in, all it will do is try and create animosity or discourse amongst the city council. And we've done such a great job in being pretty harmonious. And yet we still have differing opinions on different issues, but we all respect each other. And then whatever the decision, you know,
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because I hadn't considered the when you get the calls from the news media, but I agree that the less said, the better.
Yeah.
And do you agree, Councilman Lindauer, with the wording here that we'd like? I kind of like it because it's specific and, you know, it tells us exactly what to do. Again, I haven't really been in this position, but I would like this if I was. Do you agree with this, or do you feel that it?
Yeah, normally I do that anyway. I mean that no matter what the situation is, whether it's an organization that I'm running or whatever it is, I would always caution to say this is my personal opinion, not. So I've done that over the years, and the only thing that I hadn't thought about, which Michael brought up, and I'm glad he did, was the news media. Because usually I'm pretty open to the news media, but now maybe I should be a little more guarded and think a little more about it. So, but I agree with the wording. I don't have a problem with the wording at all.
Okay, Councilman Frizzalone, can you weigh in on it, please?
Yeah, I totally agree with Mike's position. I think at the end of the day, you know, when you're overstepping your bounds. Frankly, I disagree about Mel about, you know, being careful with the media. I've been on television 3 times. I've been in the papers numerous times. I always ask for the council's permission. So every time that I do something, I have Mike Booker or the city attorney transmit to each of the council members that what I'm doing, what I'm saying, why I'm saying it, and I get your buy-in before I do it. So I think you really just have to, I've never been in a position where anybody has questioned whether or not it's my opinion or the council's position. At the end of the day, you know in your heart whether you're overstepping your bounds or not. And as long as you get permission from your fellow council members to move forward, then once that permission is obtained, then you can move forward. So I just really think it's very incumbent upon all of us to make sure that we keep each other informed through the city attorney or through city manager Booker, and get the permission to be able to go to the press or whomever to be able to state what the council's opinions are. And I just think it's really, so I think it's really straightforward. I like the language very much. And I think it protects somebody from, going, I mean, I hate to say it, but from going rogue. I mean, you have to protect yourself from somebody going rogue and making phone calls all over the place. And at the end of the day, giving the impression that it's that person, where the impression on the other end may be, well, it's the council. And I just think we have to be cautious about that.
Thank you. Okay, so Vice Mayor, it sounds,
Rick, I don't disagree with anything you said. I was just saying that for me, I need to be a little more cautious when I'm talking to the press to make sure that it's not misinterpreted.
But again, you're a bright guy. You're very successful. You don't have to be cautious. If you know that you have the council's best interests at heart, if you've asked for permission to be able to go forward and represent whatever you're representing, and you've got that okay, I think you should speak from the heart.
Well, yeah, but sometimes they call you and they're trying to interview you when they make the call, so you really don't have time to go to all the council members. So,
at that time, you would sort of simply defer and say, and just say, look, I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Councilman Frizzalone, you've done that before, that you have said, let me get back to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Mayor. No question about it. Just I'll get back to you, then I come back to the council and make sure that I get your okay. And if I get your okay, great. And if I don't get your okay, I back off. I just think it's really, I think that language, those last 4 sentences are really straightforward. I think are important, Mayor.
Okay.
Well, that works for me, Rick. Thanks.
Okay, so it sounds like we'll keep the ordinance as written. So now I need a motion from the council to accept this.
Motion to keep.
Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor, could I just briefly explain why I brought it up? I probably talk to more people that just come up to me and ask me, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And if I think almost everybody asks me that knows that I'm speaking for myself and not the council. But what I read into this is that I have to use the words, I'm speaking for myself, not the council, every time I answer such a question. That's why I brought it up. And I agree the language is clear.
Richard, I completely disagree with you. With deferential respect to you, the Vice Mayor, I would say that, you have to have some common sense. I mean, if you're speaking to a resident, if you're walking around the tennis court, certainly we all see you every day doing your exercising. If you're speaking to somebody, you can certainly represent yourself. It's when you're crossing a line and you're calling perhaps other cities, or maybe you're in Tallahassee, who knows where life takes us. But, when you start to do that, then you really have to decide that discretion is the better part of valor. But for heaven's sakes, if you're talking to the local residents, you should be able to represent yourself with peace of mind. It's when you go outside of that caution has to be used.
And Council from Frizzalone, if I could expand on that, I think there's a difference between someone asking you, when is the tennis court going to be done? When is bocce staying? So a fact-based thing, you can certainly state a fact. But if someone's saying, what do you think of? Then if you say, my opinion is. So you're not representing all of us. Yes. So,
Madam Mayor, I could not agree with you more.
Right. So Richard, does that help? If they're asking you a fact of what's going on and it's clearly public knowledge, saying it that way, but if they're asking you, my opinion is.
Yeah, I definitely understand that this doesn't apply to facts. I guess I just need to be, just use that statement, in my opinion, all the time, if I'm asked for an opinion.
Well, and I guess, like most people, and maybe they ask you something different. I don't very often get asked my opinion, I get asked about, when is the tennis going to get done, fact-based things like that. But if they were asking my opinion, how do you feel about crosswalks? I would precede it by, I personally, because I've said that before, I personally don't cross at a crosswalk, and I say it that way.
That's fine,
So I think we're okay that we'll proceed with this like this. Do we have a motion to proceed with the wording as is?
Councilman Frizzle, I would proceed with the wording as is.
Thank you.
Lindau,
second.
second.
Councilman Lindauer, second. Okay, if there's no further discussion. Okay, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
This needs to be, this is the first reading, correct? This needs to be read by.
That's what I was just gonna
Okay,
ask.
I'm sorry, thank you. All right,
First reading, okay.
first reading.
You don't have an ordinance.
Oh, wait.
Ordinances of the Florida relating to conduct of mayor and council members when communicating with others on subjects that may be of interest. Findings, providing for conflicts, severability, codification, and effective date.
Thank you, Terry, appreciate that. Sherry, can you take the roll now, please?
Councilmember Frizzle,
Yes.
Councilmember Lindauer,
Yes.
Councilmember Politis,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bryan,
yes,
Mayor Miller.
Yes,
And this will need a public hearing for the next reading.
thank you, and you'll add that, okay. Okay, next, we're gonna go over the city manager evaluation, and I wanna give us a little background on this it was a while ago. So we as council felt that the existing appraisal needed updating, that it didn't quite meet what we were looking for. So I took it upon myself to go out and look at several different city appraisals, and the form I decided on was the ICMA. So that's the International City County Management Assessment, which would be the most applicable, I think, in this situation. So this form, as I brought it forward, was approved by council with a 5-0 vote. On June 1st of this year, our city council forwarded the forms to each of the city council members and asked that they be returned by July 1st, 2020. Each member of city council was requested to set up a one-on-one meeting with the city manager to review their appraisal. Each city council member works with the city manager and staff on a different perspective, so naturally the evaluations would be different. So the overall score that our city manager received was a 4.16, and that was an aggregated score of the 5 city council members. So we've all had the opportunity to discuss it with the city manager. Before we move on, is there any other comments that anyone wanted to make on that evaluation? Okay, hearing none, this wasn't anything that we were voting on, so I guess we'll just enter it in the record. We will, until we hear otherwise, that will be the form that we will use for the 2020-2021. I encourage everyone to, there's a comment section in there, just a personal thing, that when you add comments, it solidifies the score that you get, whether it's low or high. And I think our city manager would appreciate any feedback on things that he's doing right, that we should congratulate him on, that he continues to do, or things that we would like to see him do. So please use that section on there. So thank you very much for that. The next section that we're going to go over is, we had a petition from a citizen, Alani Groot, that he wanted to talk about the health, safety, and welfare of our city. We allowed this petition, and he was going to be given the chance to do this. Received an email from him late last night and early this morning that he was pulling his request. But because it was for the welfare of the city, if you would allow me, I think it's very important that we go over this right now. I know that I have the consensus of my complete council that we are very concerned about the safety and the health of our citizens. Thus, we are strongly urging mask wearing, but not only mask wearing. That's only one of the things that the CDC is recommending. So I want to go over some of the things that our city did to try to promote this. I see other cities might have used the word mandate in speaking about masks. In most cases, that was just empty words used with little, no enforcement behind it. I read an article in the paper today, DeLand does have an enforcement. This particular gentleman called City Hall Department, because he found someone that didn't have a mask on in a city that has a mandate. He could get no one to come out. So again, mandate is an empty word because no city has the manpower to enforce it. But I want to be very clear here. We are 100% behind our city, the residents and the visitors, keeping them safe. We stand behind our words. It is not only words. I want to go over some of the things that we did to make our city safer. So we have, city manager has asked everyone at City Hall to wear masks. We put up the plexiglass to protect our employees as well as the residents coming in to do business in the shores. We provided masks to all city facilities as you enter. So if you come into City Hall, the community center, the police station, there is a box of masks there. If you failed to bring your own, there's one available for you. We were not one of the cities that was included on the first PPE distribution, but we petitioned the chamber to please have us be one of the cities, which they complied with. No other small city was able to have that PPE passed out. And right now we have a second PPE, 3 locations. Daytona's was today, but you can go into DeLand and New Smyrna with your business card and get these PPE kits. What we did as a city, we visited every business on the west side of A1A, and we asked them to put up a sign that said the Step Up campaign, mask up, wash up, back up. And I want to again emphasize that's what it takes. It's not just mask wearing, it's washing your hands before you put those masks on. It's washing your hands after you take that off. It's practicing social distancing when you're in a store. We requested the county for masks for our city. I was very happy to report they came through with 10,000 masks for Daytona Beach shores. Then these masks were delivered to every single condo in the city for workers in those condos, any tourists or renters, just to ensure that everyone would have a mask. We educated our citizens. We had a physician come to our meeting to speak about the benefits of wearing masks, types of masks. So I just want to end this by saying actions speak louder than words. We're standing behind our mask up, wash up, back up scenario that is providing the social distancing. So that's the end of my spiel there. Again, I just want to make sure every resident that's out there, we support you. We want you to be safe.
Could I just say something real quick?
Certainly.
I'd like to commend the mayor for all the work she's done in terms of getting the word out and how important it is. You know, we had some disagreement over whether it should be a mandate or strongly encouraged, but the work she's done, whichever one we decide on, it helps people in terms of the public health of the city.
Thank you, Vice
Amen
Mayor.
to that, Richard.
I really appreciate that. I'm sorry, Councilman Lindauer.
I said amen to that, and thank you so much for all you've done.
Oh, you're very welcome. You know, and I put the onus back on the businesses too. I mean, it's up to them to say you cannot enter this store without a mask. You know, that's where the mandate's coming from. That's where the enforcement comes from. But we're here to support them on that. But anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So that comes to the end of that section of our meeting. David, are you on?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes. Is this the time that if anyone had any public, Sherry has not gotten anything, but is there anyone that's raised their hand or that wanted to speak at all?
I have not seen one, but if anybody would like to raise their hand, we can acknowledge them. I don't believe we have any call-in users, so if anybody would like to raise their hand, if it should be at the bottom of your screen,
okay.
you just
Now,
hit
at the
that.
bottom of my screen, I do have a Q&A. I wanted to announce it ahead of time. We're going to go to council comments first, but I wanted to our residents to know if they wanted to make a remark or a comment that was available. Do I click on this Q&A and?
The Q&A will list a text if somebody wants to type something in, or as well, I'm monitoring the raising hands
Okay.
and can
just
promote
for
somebody.
Any resident out there, after we're done with the council comments, if you have anything that you want to say, by all means, that would be the time to ask that question. So I will start with the Vice Mayor. Vice Mayor, what do you have for us today?
I don't have any comments for the future meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Lindauer?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Councilman Frizzalone?
Yes, yeah, I want to compliment all the fine work that the city staff has done on the shuffleboard and on the tennis. Working with the tennis community, we feel that we would like to dedicate. I'd like to get the council members' permission and buy-in and consensus. Not sure how to go about it. I'll let Becky handle it, but I think consensus. We would very much like to dedicate the sixth court to Don and Peggy Large. For all that they've done for the community. Don was a avid tennis player, absolutely loved the game. So was Peggy. And so with the council's permission, we'd like to dedicate the sixth court to Don and Peggy Large. And also would like to get some comments from City Manager Mike Booker, who's going to speak at Don and Peggy's service, which is coming up on September 5th. So I'll turn it over to City Manager Booker now.
I think, Rick, I think that's a fantastic idea. Don and Peggy were both major players, no pun intended, in the tennis community. And I think it's a nice thing because it honors both Don and Peggy. The museum is strictly for Don, but Peggy was always there for him, to support him and to encourage him, while she even did her own volunteer work. So I think that's a wonderful idea.
I think it's a great idea too, Richard.
Thank you, Councilman Frizzalone, for bringing that up. And Attorney Carey, I guess you don't really, there's nothing we have to do formal if we make a decision that that's the name that we want on that sixth court.
I mean, we could certainly do a resolution to put it in writing and put it, memorialize it.
Okay.
To make it official.
All right, so would that be at our next meeting? Okay. All right, Sherry, can you put that on the agenda, please? Okay, great. Thank you. Councilman Politis.
I wanted to echo Richard's compliments of you. I remember running into you at the new Mike's Galley when I was having lunch with Mike Booker. And yeah, I mean, you're hustling up and down the street. Like, so does Rick and Mel. You all are out there. I contribute in a very limited fashion, but thank goodness you guys have that energy and the ability. And if I wasn't fully employed, I would be there with you doing it. But thank you for picking up my slack.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And that's why I'm saying everything that I'm saying, we did that as a city. There's sometimes I have the free times that I could do something. Sometimes Councilman Frizzalone, so whoever has the free time, I was passionate about it. I had the free time, and I also have a husband that will drive me around when he's available in the van. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. But I want everyone to know we're doing this as a city. We're supporting this as a city. Councilman Lindauer, did I call on you for comments?
I had none, but I just agreed with what everybody else said about it. What a great job you're doing. And
okay, great.
It's a pleasure to be part of this team.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And my comments are just reminders. We're still going to have a concert this Friday night. Is that correct, Nancy Maddox? I think Nancy was on, but anyway, we're going to have a concert 6:30 to 8:30 this coming Friday at the Pavilion. And then also, I have gotten several calls from people that are saying, when are you going to have coffee with the mayor again? And I have been very hesitant to have it because of this COVID, but Nancy's been kind enough to say that, she'll make the activity room upstairs or the rooms upstairs available that we can space out. So I will have coffee with the mayor on September 9th. It will be upstairs on the second floor of the community center. Jan's already arranged that we'll have someone passing out the coffee, and we'll make sure that we sanitize doing the sweeps that day. But anyway, so Coffee of the Mayor will be again on September 9th at 10 a.m. right here. Thank you. And so David, anyone that came along that raised their hand?
Not as of this moment, ma'am, but we can give everybody a few seconds.
Okay. And we'll switch the order a little bit, giving them the few seconds. So we brought up several items to our city clerk that we want on the next agenda. Is there anything else that we wanted to put on that we have not mentioned to her? Okay, all right. And David, are there any hands raised yet?
No, ma'am.
Okay, if not, all the residents out there, thank you very much. To my council people, thank you very much. I know this Zoom is not the easiest to do. I appreciate your patience and your understanding and your cooperation. So
Could I ask one quick question, please? Are masks going to be mandated for the council meeting or not?
Yes.
They will be?
Yes. Well, it'll be, but if you remember the last time that we spaced pretty far apart, it is very hard to hear with them. So are you asking about the city council?
Yeah, the next city council meeting. I just wanted to clear it up, yes or no. I wasn't advocating one or the other.
How does everyone feel about it? I mean, I feel like that we should lead by example, but actually it is so hard to talk with those. I guess it depends on probably, Sherry, can we go back to what we did that we had two? Okay. So Richard, the answer to that will probably be no, we won't wear them on the dais because Sherry's just informed me that we'll have 2 council members. All staff will sit in the audience. So there'll only be 3 of us and we'll be spaced at the dais. So we'll be able to social distance. But I would like to request that anyone that comes into the chamber wears the mask. Okay.
Madam Mayor, this is Dave. We do have one raised hand now.
Thank you. And can you let them in?
Yes, ma'am. They have been added. It looks like they just need to turn on their mic.
Okay. Whoever is added, thank you. Welcome. We're glad to hear from you. Make sure you turn on your mic and you're unmuted. And I am going to request that you say your name and your address, please.
The person listed as Mom.
Mom? Okay. Mom, can you can speak now if you could give us your name and address. Hello? David, can you give do you have the last 4 of their telephone number? So maybe
It's not listed as a phone number, just as Mom.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry, Mom. We'll just a couple more minutes. If you can unmute your phone. If not, if you do have a comment, please send it on either to myself or one of the city council members, and we will make sure that we get back to you. Okay. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Everybody.